Hoi anō, tēnā anō tātou. Let's move on to our next 2025 Distinguished Alumni Award winner, Tanea Heke. Tanea's woo! Tanea's of Ngāti Rangi, Ngāti Heneira, Te Uri Taniwha and Ngāpuhi descent, and has a Bachelor of Arts in Māori and Theatre Studies from Te Herenga Waka. She is an actor, director, theatre producer and arts manager, and has been Tumuaki of Toi Whakaari, New Zealand's drama school since 2019. Tanea has starred in many theatre, film and television productions over the years, including the films Cousins, Number 2 and Waru. She co-founded Hapai Productions, a mana wahine kaupapa Māori company in 2013. She is an artist trustee on the Arts Foundation, Te Tumu Toi, and was the 2020 recipient of the Creative New Zealand Ngā Tohu Hautūtanga Auaha Toi Making a Difference Award. She was named a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit in 2022. Can I please invite the Chancellor and the Vice-Chancellor to return to the stage to present Tanea with her award. Homai te pakipaki.
Tanea, I'm so glad that you have this, because then it just makes the full set, because I think that list of awards that you have collected over the years is quite stunning, to say the least. I'm going to start with whakapapa, Tanea. On giants' shoulders we stand. And in your corner, you had your awesome matua whangai, Ray and Norm Leach. Tell us about them.
That's right. I was born in 1962, and
Me too.
Yeah, it's a very good year. I think there might be another. That's right.
Very good.
The good-looking one in the front row.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was adopted by a Pākehā family here in Wellington. My mother, Bella, had come down from Ngāpuhi, and had me, and my parents adopted me, and I was brought up in that family. So I was very, very lucky, beautiful whānau, looked after me extremely well. But I've also, since then, have found, because it was a tricky time in the 60s, really, for a Māori baby and a Pākehā whānau, I have to say. And I'll just briefly go over that. My mother is a very sensitive woman, and I was the complete opposite of that. In fact, literally in my family, I was the black sheep. I literally was the black sheep. They were all very good, and I was always quite the naughty one. I remember being very little. Well, actually, my mother tells me these stories, and going to kindergarten and being invited to people's houses by the kids, and I'd arrive there and I'd be told at the front door that I wasn't welcome. And my mother would be rung and be told to collect me, and would be given this big telling off is that we don't have those sort of children in our homes. What I hadn't realised, of course, I was quite protected from all of this because my parents were so awesome, and as was my family, that my parents lost a lot of friends over that time because they made a very brave decision. My old man, Norman, came from Tai Tokerau, Pākehā, and he was the youngest in the family at the time, and there was this nanny down the road that took a real shine to him. And when she passed, she gave him all this land. Of course, it was Māori land, so he was never going to get it. But this beautiful piece of pounamu. Dad always thought about that, and when my mother was unable to have any more children, apparently, and then she had my little sister, but anyway.
Families.
I tell you. They decided to adopt a child, and they went to social welfare in those days and were told, of course, I'm sorry, we only have the brown ones left, all the white ones have well and truly gone. And the old man sort of stood there and says, "Oh, that doesn't worry me, we'll have that Māori child there." And so that was the story really, because, and Mum had also been adopted, so for her, and it had been a terrible adoption, so for her it was being able to provide this whānau for this papa, and it was wonderful. It really was a great upbringing. However, sorry, and I know you want to ask questions, but I keep on rolling, because we're storytellers. This is a terrible thing. So I just keep on rolling.
No, please, and because there's more family, I know.
That's right, there's so much whānau.
Yeah.
But so it got to the stage, though, that I had my son, and for the very first time in my life, I looked at this little boy and I saw someone that looked like me, because I'd had years and years of never, my family, bless them, we'd all line up and have family photos, and I never for a moment felt that I wasn't part of their family. Ever. Not ever. I never felt out of it. But it did occur to me, even, with all that love, that when the photo was taken, that there was one child in that family didn't quite look like the other ones. So when my eldest boy was born, it became the time that I needed to find I needed to search for my whakapapa. And so I was within 20 minutes of getting my birth certificate from Salvation Army. I don't know if you remember back in 85 when they opened up all of the adoption. Yeah. I rang to, where was it, to Kaikohi, and spoke to an auntie who I didn't know at that time, and within 20 minutes my mother rang me. My brother and sister from my mother's side are here tonight. I've been really very lucky because I'm connected. So the thing for me, and I suspect that it's the running thing for me, was to always in search. Because as wonderful as the Leach family were, and I have said it before, they could never give me my culture. They could never give me my language. They couldn't give me that whakapapa, that as wonderful as it was. And so the search was real for me to be able to find my whānau. So I found my mum and dad, and I found all my brothers and sisters. And it is... And
what was that like?
It was just so wonderful when I met my mum. I was a bit young and a bit stupid, and I came rushing back down to Wellington after having this weekend of meeting all my brothers and sisters. And instead of being really respectful of the parents that brought me up, I got terribly excited and just said how wonderful everybody was. And then I clocked my mother, who had spent actually ages making a photo album to take up to my mum so that she would never miss out on all the years. And I never clocked, of course, that poor mum was feeling quite whakama, or, was quite pouty, because she thought that she might lose me. But she could never lose me. That would never be it, because I was always hers. But I was lucky that I just didn't hear it, that I had my family with me. So that whānau has always been such a huge thing for me, and the searching part has always been a big part of who I am. And so anyway, we got through all of that.
Yeah, I think I only just got through without crying there, but...
You didn't have to cry. It's this what this one said too. It's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about love. You can only focus on the good stuff. When I was a bit younger and in my teenage years, I used to get quite resentful, but now it's only ever about the love. Very lucky.
Coming to university was something of a fulfilment of a promise to your mum, wasn't it?
Yeah, I see, because I was a high tutu when I was younger. I managed to scrape through school, but only just. And so I also knew that there was no point coming up the hill here for ages, because I just wouldn't have the discipline. So I'd had, I think, 2 children by the time I got here. I was 27 when I arrived. And I even couldn't make it here. I had to keep on going to Karori, to Akopai, and do the Teachers' College for a couple of years, because it's quite friendly up there. It was lovely. It was quite, it was quite a gentle, warm, tepid bath before the scorcher that was heading on Waka. No, not that it was like that, but I needed to have that support around me before I came down here. because at that time I was older. I had 2 kids. I had a beautiful husband. They sacrificed a lot to let me fulfill my promise. And so I had to do well. You know, it was a big deal. It was a real big deal. If I'd come when I was younger, it wouldn't have meant anything. It meant a great deal, not just to me, but to my whānau when I came.
Did you find your people when you came here?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah?
I did. And I keep on carrying with them, actually. They come with me on all my trips, everywhere, in here.
I love the story that, because you came, you enrolled in doing Māori studies, and then and you were looking to become a teacher, which...
That's right. I did qualify as a teacher, and but the story goes, I was hapu with Taina, it was Taina down there, and I went down to Fairley Terrace to enrol for the daycare, and I saw the drama department, and I just thought, because I was looking for a second major, I was thinking, drama, I mean, how hard could that be? I'd done a couple of plays at school, it should be okay, it'd be sort of easy credits, right? So, and that is how it started. Really.
Yeah, I did wonder if it was a sort of plunge into the great unknown.
Well, no, I've been listening to our colleagues today at lunch, and these amazing, wonderful stories. I keep on going, and then there's this very pāpaki story that rolls on the top. So my one is it's not at all deep. It just, you get up in the morning and things happen, right? Just deal with it. So,
yeah, I see patterns emerging amongst all of you. I want to talk about your classmates when you did get into your drama class, because there were some of them were pretty famous too. Yeah. And I also want to talk about the infamous nude classes. I'm going to have to bring them up.
I did wonder if they'd come up tonight. Someone did mention that, actually.
Yeah, so
I'll just have a drink for that.
Jermaine, Jermaine was in your class as well. I mean, there's all sorts of... Because I think... Were you guys here at about the same time?
Around about the same time, but we weren't in the same class together.
Right.
But Jermaine and Taika were here in those days. So... They were even then. I didn't know them as well as this one did, but even then they were smart boys. They were very, very smart boys, destined for great things even in those days. Jermaine was very, very respectful. I remember we did a class. It was quite a dry class, but Jermaine was very respectful and sat through it, whereas I think Taika was one of the ones throwing things around from memory.
Making darts, yeah. But you too were under the same tutors as...
That's right. Phil Mann, John Downey, David Carnegie.
And obviously there were some interesting classes that were going on.
Look, the nude classes, I have to be clear about this. We did not go around in the nick here at Te Herenga Waka. Well,
I have to bring it up. It's just
people did, but not in class. No, I waited until we got down to drama school for that. So, yes, it certainly didn't happen on this campus. That had nothing to do with Te Herenga Waka. That was down at Toi Whakaari in the olden days. And in the 90s, I'll just tell it very briefly because, you can imagine. In the 90s, it was, well, of course, and you do from time to time get offered these fabulous parts where you might need to be in the nude, and at that time the training would be that rather than feel uncomfortable, we'll do it as a set class. So I'm just going to set the scene. We are. Yeah. So the set class would be is that the men were in one room, the women were in another. We'd be in the lava-lavas to put on music. They'd have a lovely picnic on the floor, soft lighting, and when the music stopped, you drop the lava and you run around in the Niki Nunas, and we'd all feel terribly comfortable about it, and then you'd sit down and have your picnic.
I mean, you were actors, weren't you? You had to learn to be...
Exactly. Except there's always one class, though, isn't there? There's always one class that would go, no, not for us, thank you. We don't want to do that. It did cause a lot of trouble back in those days, but Anyway, I think we were the beginning of the end of the nude classes. It makes for great storytelling now, but it was pretty ghastly at the time.
But actually, I wondered, Tanea, we heard from Di about the fact that, he used to throw up before he got on stage. I took beta blockers for 5 years before I read the news.
Wow.
I don't know why we do these things. Did you ever feel anxious and nervous?
No, it was that thing about being excited rather than nervous.
You could reframe it.
And of course, we did a lot of, because I was the child of the 90s at drama school, so we used to do a lot of warming up and... Actually, there's a couple in the room, we'll do that later, but we used to do all these lovely exercises, which you must do, of course, for the actors' tools, to get ready as one prepares before we go on stage. I was a bit naughty about that too as well, but absolutely, excitement is good, fear is not good. Fear is not good, it doesn't work it didn't work for me. It didn't work for you fellas either, really, did it?
You went on to establish Hapai Productions with the unforgettable Nancy Bruni.
That's right.
And I'm guessing that live theatre was at the heart of that company.
Well, for those of you that know Nancy Brunning's formidable wahine, and I always felt I was very privileged to be her friend, and we worked together. And her vision would be, because we were around in those sort of days where theatres would take us because they had to do at least one Māori work. They used to have at least one Māori work on their program. And we wanted to be in the time where actually we would just tell our stories and we didn't have to ask anyone's permission to be able to tell our stories, right? And Nancy was really fierce where that was concerned. And she was also very concerned that wahine were able to tell their stories. And so Hapai Productions was born. That was back in 2013. And we had a great run for 5 or 6 years before Nan passed away in 2019. She's one of the many wahine that I credit. And like Di, the reason that I'm here is because of many others, and the majority of them are wahine who have shown me the way or have talked about what it could possibly look like and invited me to join on that journey. And I've been lucky enough to hop in on that.
One of the most important things for both of you was to ensure that others didn't face the barriers that you had witnessed and potentially also experienced. What kind of barriers were there?
Well, that same thing about, Māori work. We only do one of those a year, but thank you very much, and it was fabulous. We'll see you next year. And also just the importance of being able to tell our stories with a lens that had a wahine Māori lens really too, because a lot of the theatre when we were about had been written by a lot of men. Just saying. So
it's a thing.
So things I have to say have changed considerably since then. So it just shows you what happens in 10, 20 years.
When did you think it really started to change, and how?
It's amazing, isn't it? Because it change is so gradual sometimes that you don't even feel it or see it or taste it. And for me, I know it must have, because I look at our tauira, our young tauira now, knowing that they're not experiencing that at all. They'd be shocked, absolutely shocked, to think... I remember having this wonderful discussion with colleagues when I was working at Creative New Zealand, and we were talking about a theatre company and how progressive they were because they had, they commissioned Māori work. And I said, well, I know that is awesome, and it's great that our story is being told. And it was Auckland Theatre Company, and this is in the olden days. And it was fabulous because they were the leading company in Aotearoa. But the person holding the purse strings was still Pākehā. And the person that the commissioning was still Pākehā. And the person really that ran the whole thing was all Pākehā. And I go, but how could that be? Because they're our stories. So we've got to be in charge of that ourselves. So, anyway, the young ones today would just look at that and go, oh, really, fire? Is that how it was? They would never assume, ever, that they couldn't stand up and tell these stories the way they wanted to do it, wherever they wanted to say it, at any time. That would be just so far from there. And I just go, awesome that that's happened. It's been a long time coming, but here it is. Ko tai mai.
On the shoulders of giants they stand, shoulders like yours. It's true. You know, you mentioned about working with young actors at Toi Whakaari, and really that involves obviously nurturing this very strong individual sense of self, but also having a collective vision. It's such a tension. How do you manage that?
Well, it is a very interesting thing, and also our students have, they are changing. They're quite dynamic, interesting young people. So I think the thing that we have thought about more and more as a kura is to throw a korowai over them. And so the korowai has to be about manaki and aroha, matauranga, whakawhangaungatanga. So by having those values, our students know what is acceptable and the acceptable behaviour and the way that we expect them to be. Now, if we do our jobs properly, many of our ones, especially the kura kids, you never have to really say that to them, but for others, it is a new thing to be thinking collectively and working as a whānau. But if we do it all as a school, it makes it easier. So even if it's not just the actors, we do that for production, for set and props, for costume, for design, everyone the same. That's the sort of, you've got to have those qualities in place to be able to affect change.
And talking about change, you have a very exciting new bachelor's coming in next year.
Oh, well, what we've done is, because, we're 55 years old or something. Where are you, John T? 50? Yeah, 50. Is it 55? Yeah, we are. 55 years old. And in 55 years, we've got now 5 or 6 qualifications, but the thing is that they all came on individually or by themselves. So all we've done is ensure that all of our bachelors match each other, because before we just had acting and then we had the production come on and then we had design. All we've done is throw again that korowai so that it's the bachelors with the discipline in acting, in directing, in design and in production, and also we have 2 diplomas and we've got a master's as well. I mean, we're never going to really compete with Te Herenga Waka. Just saying. That is not going to happen. But the
I know
is
that,
different.
and I thought we were mature enough to be able to talk about this, have this conversation. You have done so much, Tanea, in the arts across the board. Do you have one burning desire left, that a big job still undone?
Oh no, my big burning desire, it can't happen just yet because I've got all those kids and all those mokopuna and they cost a fortune.
Tell me about it.
But my last job left is for someone to take my place, because I'm only
Succession.
A placeholder. That's right. All of us understand. We're just here for a good time, not for a long time. And that we have these remarkable young people coming through that will lead the way for the future. So our job, all of us that are sitting here, that young one there too, is to actually just to lead until someone takes over from us. And what a joy it is to be sitting on this pie looking at this one here, coming to have a kōrero shortly. The future looks like this. And over there, my kids, thank goodness the mokos aren't here tonight, otherwise we'd never get a kōrero out. But that's what the future looks like, yeah.
What a joy it's been to sit here with you
Always
tonight.
a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Tanea, and congratulations.